this is Trier from the Writing Center at Nightingale, and this video is to go over how to approach a reading test or like a section of an exam that has reading comprehension questions. I've chosen a passage from an elementary school on purpose because the reading part is not the part I want to focus on. It's all the things around the reading part. So I will tell you that I do not like social studies. Social studies and things to do with history are not my jam. I would rather do anything except read something that has to do with social studies. So keeping that in mind, that is one of the reasons why the tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you are so very important. So first thing that we're going to do before we even look at this text, and you're going to hear me use the word text a lot, and that's going to be the passage. And we used text now instead of story because sometimes it could be informational, sometimes it's a narrative. So using the word text just encompasses all the things. So before I even read that, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to read the questions. Why? Why am I reading the questions? Well, I'm reading the questions because right now in my head, I'm thinking about I need to go and do the laundry, wondering what I'm going to cook for dinner, thinking, do I really want to do all of the house cleaning today? Do I want to wait till tomorrow? Oh, I've got my mom and dad's dog. You get it. I've got a whole bunch of stuff rattling in my brain, and none of that is going to help me pass this test. So I need to shut that all off. So that is shut off. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I am going to read these questions. So how does life today differ from the life of a pioneer child? Okay, well, right now I know that pioneer child is probably going to be important to this text. What can you infer about life as a pioneer child? There, we've got it again. And then now it's telling me to underline evidence in the text that helps you determine the answer. Okay, so use context clues to infer the meaning of the word minimal. And then why do you think pioneer children were expected to be miniature adults? Use evidence from the paragraph to support your answer. Okay. So you can't see, but I have a piece of paper in front of me. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write down. So obviously in my head, I'm focusing on pioneer child because I see it everywhere. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the text and I'm going to look at the title. So life as a pioneer child. And then I'm going to look and I'm going to skim through. I don't see any other headings. I don't see any words that are bolded or italicized. I don't see anything jumping out at me other than the numbers. So the 1800s. So I am going to go ahead and highlight that. So I'm going to do all that work before I ever start to read the passage. Then I'm going to start reading the passage. So today, many children return home from school to play video games, do homework, or run outside and play. This hasn't always been the case, though. Pioneer children living in the early 1800s were expected to work hard and play the role of a miniature adult as their families built a new life on the frontier. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to think, this question says, how does life today differ from the life of a pioneer child? So, really simply, children today get to play after school, but as a pioneer child, they were expected to be miniature adults and work with the family, period. Okay, now Why I went ahead and answered that question um, instead of waiting till I got to the end was because it's helping me stay focused. And that's what I'm wanting to do. I don't want to lose my focus on this assignment. So, okay. So then here I'm going back over and I know where I stopped because I made a mark. So only about half of all pioneer children attended school. Wow. I did not know that. So that is super interesting to me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight that. And that's what I was afraid of. There we go. Okay, only about half. So, and most pioneer kids learned to read by drawing letters in the sand with sticks and by reading the only books they had, their Bibles. Oh, okay. So after a day of learning, girls were expected to help their mothers cook, clean, sew, and tend to the younger children. Boys helped construct new buildings, worked in the farms and fields, and hunted for food to feed their family. In their minimal free time, pioneer children made up games like hide and seek or tug of war and even made their own toys. Life is certainly different for children in the 21st century. Okay, so what can I infer about life as a pioneer child? Well, the word infer is making me think, like, what was going on? What was said by the author, but not really just outright stated. And so when I think about like my own children's childhood, one of the things I think is that the life of a pioneer child was difficult and filled with more work than play. Girls weren't educated, while the boys were. Girls tended to work on helping, I don't want to say work on. Girls tended to help their mom with younger children, while the boys went outside and tended the crops and animals. Okay, so good to go. Then use context words to infer the meaning of the word minimal. Context clues are talking about words that are in the passage. So right here, we did the Bible. So let's see, where was the word minimal? Oh, right here. So in their minimal free time, pioneer children made up games. So I'm going to say that based on all the stuff that we've read, minimal is going to mean little. So it says underline evidence in the text that helps you determine the answer. So I think this whole paragraph does. So, I don't want that to be green. I want that to be purple. Can I do that? Yes. Okay. Okay. So, and then over here, I would type in my answer that says the word minimal means a little or small amount. I used the context of how busy the children were in creating that definition. Okay. I'm not 100% sure on that answer, but I feel pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with my gut. I'm not going to go back and overthink it or try to make it more difficult than it needs to be. And same thing here. Why do you think pioneer children were expected to be miniature adults? So I think we are using evidence already. We've got that. So I get to say, I think on this one, because it said, why do I think? I think pioneer children were expected to be miniature. I say that so I can spell it correctly. Miniature adults, because the families needed the help and mom and dad could not get everything done on their own. I also think this was a way to help children grow into independent and successful adults. Okay, so that is how I would do every reading passage that comes up on a reading test, whether it's on getting into college, once you're already in college, things like that. So read your questions first because it sets it up in your head. Take notes, make sure that you're reading through, highlight if you can. Most texts on the computer do have a way for you to highlight or to annotate, which is like to take notes off on the side. But any tools that you have available to you, you want to make sure that you're looking at those before you do anything else. So this took about 10 minutes to do, which is kind of a long time, but it's also 10 minutes. And with what I highlighted and going back and forth, I feel pretty confident that I did a good job. And so that means that when I turn this test in, I'm not going to be mad at myself for not doing as well as I possibly could have.